I've traveled 180 days a year for 30 years. I'm a consultant. I basically made my living renting my brain to old white guys called CEOs. And I travel around the world, and I would inevitably get upgraded. And I would always stay at five-star hotels because someone else was paying. I would inevitably get upgraded to the presidential suite at the Four Seasons in Bangkok with a pool outside when I was alone. And I might as well have been in a Holiday Inn. When you're alone and something like that happens to you, it's absolutely meaningless. And this is why I think partnerships are so important. When you're not achieving, building, procreating, feeling sadness, feeling grief, feeling joy with someone else to notice it, and you don't get to notice it with someone, it's literally like it doesn't happen. When I moved to New York, when I was in my 30s, I had just gotten divorced. I decided to leave tech, and I just wanted to be alone and live like a caveman. And I would basically leave my loft. I had enough money and a pretend job as an NYU faculty member, and I would only leave my loft to go to the Ready Teller, get food, or pursue sex, and then I'd return to my cave. Now, as far as empty and meaningless experiences go, it was pretty good. But I remember thinking at the age of like 36, if I don't find people in my life to notice my life and I don't notice theirs, I'm going to die. I'm literally, and there's research showing that when men just sequester, they start to die. And that is their brain shuts down, their cholesterol goes up. So when I talk to young men or I coach them around dating, I'm like, something we're not good at and we need to get better at, and it might be a different form of sensitivity. It's really kind of noticing their life and making sure that they find stages that strangers can applaud for them. It's not all about you and your professional success, and finding things that are important to them that may not be important to you, but registering. Another sexist statement: women have a special relationship with jewelry, not all women, that men will never understand. I do not understand jewelry. I cannot figure it out. I do not understand why anyone would value it. My wife finds value in it. So I notice that, and I participate in the jewelry industrial complex, distinct of how ridiculous I think it is. Do you notice their lives? Do you notice what's important to them?
I have the exact same thing with Sesame Street Band-Aids for Mayim.
I want all of the Sesame Street Band-Aids.
And I'm very grateful that it's not jewelry and it's Sesame Street Band-Aids.
I had to explicitly say, if you are ever in any drugstore, any
You see them, you got to grab them.
If you see them, purchase them.
She got upset with me recently, maybe a month ago, that she did not have enough Sesame Street Band-Aids. And I rectified that. It doesn't make any sense to me. She will wear a Band-Aid even when she doesn't need one. But it brings her so much joy that I have to understand that.
Everyone has their thing.
I want to talk about shoulder-to-shoulder connection because it's actually a pretty profound and insightful statement. I have a 17-year-old, as I mentioned, and if I try to ask him a question or engage in a face-to-face conversation with him, it will not succeed. I will get almost no information. And, his mom and I are divorced, and early in the divorce, I would pick him up, I would spend time with him on the weekend, and he wouldn't start talking to me until like the last hour of the third day that we were hanging out.
He's a quiet fellow. He wasn't shutting down around you. He's a quiet fellow.
But he would pick these moments to interact and start to open up when I'd least expected it. And nowadays, usually that interaction happens while I'm driving on a road trip and we have many hours to kill, and even at the end of a week, all of a sudden, he'll just start telling me about his internal world and things that are happening in school. And if I ask him point blank, I get, it was fine. We did nothing. Nothing happened. I don't remember.
Are you going to talk about how much he talks to me?
He talks to her an unbelievable amount. I don't understand it. But talk to us about the difference about how men and women interact, and, what does it mean to show up for a young man and try to just let them connect when they're ready?
I don't feel as if I have the domain expertise to really unpack the different ways that genders communicate. I can just speak anecdotally to what it's like to be a dad. And it's exactly what you said, John. It's random moments of connection when you're not looking for it. And again, my hack is to be the Uber driver because you're not looking at them and they'll just start talking. The other thing I do with my 15-year-old is I lie down with him at night and we just talk. We just kind of debrief on the day. And he'll start asking me questions about my parents and my upbringing. And he's just in a state of calm. He's in a state of zen. And the rest of the day, He's just assessing the household for vulnerability so he can attack at our weakest points. He's a fucking terrorist. But there's something about, and every kid's different, right? There's something about when he lies down at night, I lie down for the first, 10 or 15 minutes until he falls asleep. And like 1 out of 3 nights, he asks something and we have a moment of connection. But I love the term that Ryan Holiday coined of garbage time. The most important thing you can do, I think, what I've tried to practice is I just try to have a lot of time with my kids. I try to be present and I try to be around and, there a lot and obviously and constantly. I travel a lot, so every day at the same time I FaceTime them, even if it's just to check in and say hi, and it's like a 30-second call. But I find also kids like ritual. Kids really enjoy, like every Friday night is family night, or the first day dad gets home, we go and we always get dim sum. It's non-negotiable. We go get dim sum, right? And they hate it for different, parts of their lives. They hate it. But I think that's what they'll talk about when, they're reheating my soup. And
I fully agree. It is about that consistency, having some expectation, also having enough time and space where we slow down enough where you can lie down with them and you can give them the space to ask those questions. I am a person who doesn't volunteer a lot of information unless it's asked of me. And I have learned from Mayim that just sharing about things that I wouldn't normally share about is helpful to open up that landscape of conversation, talking about my parents, telling them stories about things that they may not otherwise have known about in those quiet moments too. I've tried to do a lot.
It's funny because I always, had this fear about having girls because I felt like I wouldn't know what to do with them because I was always, kind of a tomboy and I don't really understand jewelry, makeup, fashion, any of those things. And in many ways it is easier, right? To have a boy. It's just a different emotion. Friends of mine with daughters say that it's like everyone having their period from the time that the girl is like 4 years old. It's like everyone is like screaming and crying and it's very intense and it's very emotional. And, a lot of it is girls tend to be more verbal, more social, their interactions with other females tend to make their way, into your life as well. But when you frame it this way in terms of kind of the statistics and in terms of sort of the challenges, is it that hard to get it right? Meaning, like, how close, how much do we need to sort of hit this mark? Can we be roughly available? What does it look like for young boys? Like, what are we aiming for, I guess is the question.
I don't know if I'm able to put a metric on it. Unfortunately, a lot of these problems are inversely correlated to income of the household. In a capitalist society, money solves a lot of these problems. Not all of them, but I was just looking at data on public schools. The average public school spends $15,000 per student. The average public school in a poor neighborhood spends $8,000 to $10,000. The average elite private school spends $75,000 a year per child, 50 to 60 in tuition, and then another 15 in gifts and endowments. So just think about, you have this infrastructure called education. Whether you think it's a good infrastructure or not, it is an infrastructure that has scale for a reason. And there's one kid we're spending $150,000 on, and there's another we're spending $1 million on. And what do you know? The outcomes are much different. So just the level, I just think about the resources we're pouring into these kids around everything, and some of it's not good, but I used to leave my mom's house at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning with a Schwinn bike and Abba Zaba bar and 35 cents, and she wouldn't see me for 14 hours.
Sure.
And now my kids are 10 minutes late from school and we call MI6 and the CIA. It's just they're so overparented. I don't know if I have an exact metric for what we're trying to get to. What I would just say is the basics are presence, especially for men with boys. And the other thing I just zeroed in on, which I have some data on, is being really good to their mother. That teaches them to have healthier relationships and be happier themselves later in life with women.
I know you're a staunch atheist in your worldview.
Well, let me say this: I'm not a staunch atheist. I'm the reluctant atheist because one of the things I think is a shame is that people are spending less time at religious institutions, and that is a form of community. And although I'm an atheist, I do sometimes when I mentor young men, really encourage them if they're involved in a church group or temple. I think it's great. I think people getting together on a regular basis to be in the agency of something bigger than them and, you know, wish each other well. Um, I think that's a good thing. I have now found faith. It just never struck me, but I think it's a good thing. I don't want to say I'm envious of it, but I respect it. And also, I say to people, I'm an atheist, but I'm Jewish. And that is, I'm what Dan Senor calls, I don't know if you know Dan, he
Oh,
hosts
yeah.
this great podcast called Call Me Back.
Yep.
He calls me affectionately, we're friends, an October 8th Jew.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I never felt very strong connection to Judaism or to Israel, but now I'm a full, people in my comment section accuse me of being a Zionist, and I respond, I'm a raging Zionist. So I consider myself Jewish, but I'm not, I do believe that there will be a point where I look into my son's eyes and know our relationship is coming to an end. And my atheism for me, and I'm not saying this is true of everybody, has given me tremendous courage to be more emotive, to tell people that I love them, to take risks I may not otherwise take, because I just genuinely believe that this is not a dress rehearsal and that it's going to go faster than we think, or I think, and there's no reason why I wouldn't take risks, be more emotional, and squeeze as much, juice out of this lime called life. So for me, atheism has been a real unlock. I'm not saying it's for everybody. I don't force it on anybody else. And I have a lot of respect for religion and religious institutions. And I now more often than not talk about my Jewish heritage and my connection. But yeah, I have not found faith, so to speak.